And boom, here we are. What's up, everyone? This is B-Boy Isaac from the Perth City Breakers. I've got a pretty exciting guest today, and it's our first international guest as well, all the way from, if you can tell where his accent's from, well, he hasn't even spoken yet. So, from South Africa, we've got Bboy Strech. So, man, thanks for really, I'm super excited to have you here, man, because you got a lot to share. And we had some previous conversations as well coming up to this. So yeah, I know it's going to be really fun. But how is South Africa as well, man? I heard the fruit over there is really good. Like the fruit grows
Oh
really
yeah,
big.
yeah,
Because
yeah. I think the fruit here is like I've lived in Italy. I go to America quite often with breaking. I'm quite blessed. I go like once a year, try to
yeah,
make it a thing. Um, I'd say the fruit here is maybe the best I've had. I haven't been to like the Caribbean and like South America and stuff like that. I would imagine on certain islands with the right climate, maybe the fruit will be better.
mm,
Sicily also, Sicily has, look, the citrus in Sicily is amazing. I'll give them that. Sicily has some great fruit as well, but the best bananas in the world are here. Let me tell you, I have never had bananas
I
like I had
believe you.
here. Pineapple, don't even play with a
Don't even
pineapple
start
right
there. Don't
here.
even believe it. I
You
was
know,
eating mango with
it's
my
a real
grandma today.
pineapple. It stings your
Oh,
tongue, bro. If the pineapple doesn't sting your tongue, then it's like it's been in a ship, like a container ship, and it's come over and it's got preservatives in it so it doesn't rot
for
on the
real?
ship. Because the pineapple should sting. It's got citric acid, right?
Yeah, right.
And when you have like a citric acid supplement, it burns. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, because I was eating a mango today with my grandma, and I'm half South African, and she's always bragging about the fruits, how big they are. She's like, everyone's got a
I
big
know.
pawpaw tree and a mango tree in their front yard, and all this. And yeah,
And
and one more other
papayas.
thing,
Ask her about papayas. They're pretty big out here. I don't know if you get them out there.
pawpaw,
Papayas. No,
papaya.
papaya. It's different. A
Oh,
papaya is like a big ass pawpaw.
oh, no, we don't get much big fruits
Yeah.
here. Australia is like a desert, man, and we all live around the coast. Yeah, and so the soil's not very rich, but yeah, one more other thing is because I live with my like obviously I'm half South African, so I have a lot of family here. And what's the difference? Can you explain this to me as well, maybe? What's the difference between now and now?
Like now is like yeah. Now is like at this minute, right? Like present. Einstein would tell you in relation to light speed, like this is now, and then now is like maybe in a few nanoseconds. It's
Yeah,
like
that's
I
just
was looking at this like I'm quite fascinated with space and time travel and the science around it, and I was looking at the theory of relativity theory of relativity with regards to light speed and time, and like
mm,
Einstein had this theory which has been proved correct, I think, where light speed is not always the same depending on where the observer is, right? So like if you're like way down here and I'm way down here and the light is traveling over there,
hmm.
from your perspective and mine's perspective, the light will travel differently and therefore at a different time in relation to the observer. And so now, it's like that. There's some scientific proof that can
Uh,
support now.
yeah. Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. Because I always take the piss out of my family about that. I was like, yeah, but okay, but stretch, man. Well, let's get on to the topic of breaking
Oh
though,
no.
because I'm really fascinated to know what South African breaking scene is like. But let's actually get to know
Oops.
about
I'm having.
yourself first. Like, where are you from in South Africa, and how did you start? Like, how did you see the scene? Like when you're first exposed to it?
Okay, so when I started, it was a lot better than it is now, in my opinion.
Mm,
Um, before the commercial competitions, mainstream competitions came in here, it was a lot better. So before we had like these energy, we only have one energy drink comp. I'm not even going to give them free marketing and and name them. I'm just going to say an energy drink. Like there's one of them here, right? And so like people will prepare for that, and that's the only kind of, you know, battle. They don't want to show off their moves before then because they don't want to get smoked.
Mm.
And then also what happens is that that company has changed the format of breaking. It's pulled it away from crew competitions, because crew competitions are actually very expensive for a company to host, because you got to fly out like 10 guys, you know,
Oh, true.
and that's one crew. And if you got like 15 or 20 crews, you got 15 or 20 times 10 members. You need a large budget.
Is
And
this a
when you're
local
doing
jam?
solos, no, I'm talking about the international one even, but the
Oh,
local
okay.
one follows suit, right?
Right. Okay,
So
I
like
think I
you'll
know
see
what
these like
I think I know what
like the
energy drink you're talking about then.
yeah.
Okay. I thought it was a
I
local
don't hold
energy
them
drink.
in high regard.
Yeah, fair enough.
No. I don't hold them in high regard because of that. I don't think I don't think it's been all good for the scene. It's been good in some scenes, in some aspects,
Mm,
but this is like a multivariant scene, and for the
mm.
large part I see, it has also been damaging with disregard to where it has been damaging, and in those countries where it has been damaging, like it's just like, who cares? So with that, before that came in, the culture was everybody had a crew, man. It was all crews, and you were battling every day. If you bumped into another crew at high school, you'd battle them on break. You know, on lunch break you'd battle. You know, on the weekends, like maybe if you were now the best crew in this high school because you kept smoking everyone, you maybe heard about another crew in another like rival high school way over there, and you were like, oh man, listen, we got to go smoke these fools. Like these guys are talking about being good and stuff. Like let's go out there. We'll go on their turf. We'll smoke them on their turf, and we'll show them like what breaking really is. We'll show them.
Yeah.
And so that's how it was, bro. Like every weekend there was a battle, dude. There was this mall. It's actually here right by me. But 20 years, 18, 15 years ago, this mall didn't have the same security regulations that they do now. So every Friday night for a few years, just before that first You Got Served movie came out, a couple of
Mm.
years before that, I don't remember what time that was, but anyhow.
Is this around 97?
No. This is like still my high school days. So that was probably like 2002, 2003,
Oh, right.
around that time. So B-boys, any dancers, actually hip hop dancers, which is really cool because, you know, breaking used to be inclusive as it started in the 70s and as it continued in the 80s through in America. It was inclusive. It wasn't like exclusive, you know, it was like, you didn't just like spin on your head and that was the end of the story. No, you were like, you embodied the culture. You might have even emceed. You might have had some writing skills. You might have mixed some, you know, some other styles of dance when the music appropriately called for it. Like I was speaking to Nicholas Abru. He was a second generation b-boy, I think from in New York, but I think he's in New Jersey, and he was telling me he was actually from a hustle dance background, you know, and like a lot of the pioneering b-boys had like different backgrounds, like maybe some salsero type dancing, you know, and stuff like that. And so it's always been like an inclusive thing. It's never been exclusive.
Mm.
And so,
So you first were
yeah, so
exposed to
back in the,
breaking in high school? Would you
yeah.
say it was in high school? Or was it the energy drink
Um, yeah,
battle?
no, before, no. So when okay, let me tell you how it started so you can get some, you're talking with creatives, like these things go on tangents. Okay,
Yeah. You're
so
fine, man. It's all good.
how I started, I must say that, I, how I started, because I'm in South Africa, right, and there was like apartheid and all the stuff, so the media didn't come in freely and culture wasn't spread freely. Okay, it was like kind of It was kind of controlled for a long time. And then even after apartheid was ended, you still had systemic problems. And so you had like the remnants of the apartheid regime, where you had people that had come to authoritative positions via the apartheid system, still in those positions. So we're talking about like high schools, and police, whatever it
Mm.
was. So you still had those people, right? And so it
Talking about
wasn't
there's a lot
really
of race
easy
kind
for,
of problems to be
well,
able to
cultural,
go
because you got to
into
understand, like,
that kind of culture where like breaking was first a colored and blacks culture, and you know, not being
yeah.
colored, it was a lot harder to go into that.
Well, look, so hip hop was considered like a black culture, right? Or at least have the ability to promote black culture or promote ethnic mixing, which was certainly like not a thing that was really allowed during apartheid, and was
Mm.
partially not really let's say, I don't want to say not allowed, it wasn't motivated and endorsed even after the few years after apartheid. So if apartheid ended in 94, I was doing my first windmill by 98. Okay,
Right.
but I didn't. I would have been breaking much earlier if I'd seen it on TV. I would have been breaking from 6 years old, because like when I was 6, 7 years old, I was in the garden trying to be Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan and punching trees and going out trying to like pick on bullies and test what I learned in the movies. This was me. But if I had seen breaking on TV, I would have gone the breaking route instead of like going out there and trying to like test if the snake fist works on a bully, which it doesn't actually, by the way.
No. Yeah,
um,
but you can
so
do the
yeah,
same thing, call
98, I
people
did
out
my
about it.
first.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah. So no, 98, I remember clearly that 98 I was doing windmills. And how I got windmills was I was still in primary school, which is like the levels before high school. So up until you're about 12, 13, then you
Damn,
go to high school.
you got
So
windmills in primary
when
school?
I was like, yeah. So I remember clearly that already about 12 years old. And how I got it was there was a skating culture had come in, skateboarding. Okay,
Mm.
that wasn't like such a black thing, right? So that came in, and they were like, I tried to skateboard. I did skateboard. I was a part of the street culture. I wasn't very good at it, but this one kid that was good at skateboarding, at this one like we had these like discos or whatever, and with this one disco, this dude did windmills, bro, and I was like. And I already had like a crew that we were like, I was hanging around with the black kids then, and we had like this little crew where we were kind of rapping. I don't even know how we figured out how to rap, to be honest, but we were at
Just
like
copy.
11, 12, 10, 11, 12, we were rapping. Yeah, I don't even know where we got it. I didn't see it on TV, bro. We were just doing it at school in a little cypher, and I was doing something that was similar to kick dancing back then. I wouldn't say it was breaking. It was more like jailhouse rock mixed with kick dancing, which is like you like jump on your hands and then throw maybe a martial arts kick, and then like
Ah,
go down, throw something down there, like these kick ups. I would do these kick ups, which probably got me flexible for flares later when I would
oh,
figure them out. But
man. So you doing
so
some
I saw the
crazy
kid do
stuff.
windmills.
Yeah, you were already doing some crazy stuff,
Yeah,
man, in like primary school all the way to high school.
yeah,
Kick
yeah,
flips
yeah,
and
yeah.
shit
So
and windmills. Fuck,
yeah.
damn.
I was trying to be. I wanted to be Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan or Van Damme, right?
Oh yeah.
That was what I wanted to be, and I tried to learn everything that they did. I read everything that Bruce Lee wrote. By the time I was still in primary school, I would go 5 kilometers up to the nearest like more upbeat town, because I was from like the town at that time was like almost, I wouldn't say rural. It wasn't farming, but we call it felt area. A felt is like field. It's just like
Mm.
it's like low field. Like you can Google high felt and low felt for the viewers. I really don't know how to explain that in like other worldly English, but high felt and low felt is like it's literally like a different length of this field grass, and there's different kinds of like shrubbery and animals that live in the different felt types. And
Right.
so we classified it as like high felt and low felt. And on the maps, in the old days, we actually had areas on the map, which was like, instead of the city, you might have had like, oh, this is high felt area, this is low felt. And we even had a radio station called high felt FM, and I think there was one called low felt FM. So that was pretty,
Yeah,
that's
right.
for your family.
You'd
They'll
go
know
down
that
and
one.
practice.
Hey,
And that's where you'd go
say
to
again.
practice?
No, no, no. So, um, I would go out of my like kind of felty town, and I
Yeah.
would go to like a more upbeat town, and they had a library, and so I would take all the books on Bruce Lee, everything that they had, man,
Oh,
articles,
wow.
anything, newspaper clippings, and I would study this guy religiously, and then eventually they got a DVD, not a DVD, sorry, in those days, tape.
VCR,
They
yeah.
had a tape of Bruce Lee, and bro, I think I was 8 years old when I got that tape
Oh,
from that
shit.
library. I was 8 years old, and
Damn.
I studied it. I mimicked it. I could talk like Bruce Lee. I could walk like Bruce Lee. I could kick ass like Bruce Lee. And then, so I was doing hundreds of push-ups and sit-ups a day because of Bruce Lee's exercise routine. By the time I was 6 years old, I was doing crunches, push-ups.
Mm.
7 years old, I had a six-pack. It was pretty
Nice.
weird. Yeah, and so I was prepared. I was well prepared physically for breaking. And so
Yeah.
later on, when I would see a move, I could pick it up like this. Like air flares, I learned it like in a matter of weeks. But it just was a
What?
problem that, yeah,
Oh,
it was a
shit.
problem that in our country, we didn't have the stuff. So if I was like born in America and those guys were in front of me, I'm telling you, bro, like I learned stuff like this. There was no move that anybody would have over me for
Wow.
more than a month. I'd have picked it up, and the next battle you'd be
Because you
eating
were
your own move.
physically and mentally just conditioned because of such, like, you were so obsessed with
Yeah,
Bruce Lee and his
yeah,
philosophy and
yeah, bro.
yeah.
Hundreds. Like people don't believe me. I was like 7, 8 years old doing hundreds of push-ups and sit-ups. Hundreds. Like I'd go to
Damn.
school. I'd look like one of these YouTube martial art kids, bro. I was like ripped up, and I was just looking for bullies to like test, test
Man,
the
you got
stuff,
me
bro.
pumped up
And
right now. Oh man, I think
yeah,
I'm gonna just push up straight after this.
yeah.
Oh
But
wow.
'98, bro, I remember that kid from skateboarding. He did these windmills, and I was like, dude, what is that?
Mm.
Is that like a martial art? He's like, no, this is windmills. And I'm like, where did you get it? He says, no, I saw it on the skating videotape towards the end. I think it was the DC. What's the name of that skating company? DVS. I think it's DVS. It's like an old school skating company that had these like
DC with the star
tapes
logo in it.
for like, I think it's that one, yeah. And yeah, they had these like skating tapes, to like promote their company and their pro skaters. And
Mm.
on that skating tape, there was some windmills, and I picked it up. Like I saw this kid, I learned the windmills. I was within a week or two at home. I learned the windmill,
No one taught you.
and then I had, yeah, no, I picked it up from seeing that skater, and then
Holy shit, man.
a little bit around that time, what video game came out was Tekken 3. Now, Tekken 3 had Eddie Gordo. On the arcade release was 97, and the console release was 98. And so in South Africa, it took a little while after. But arcade was a big culture. If you go to the coastal town, they had like casinos and stuff. And so I would play, when I saw Tekken at that one arcade, dude, I would I would hog that machine. You couldn't get me off it, bro. I was like this little kid there, and these like adults are trying to like play, and we'd have these like tournaments of Tekken, and I'd just like be the kid that was in the top bracket, like smoking everyone on Tekken. And I saw like a lot of Eddie Gordo stuff. I copied that because I thought it was fight stuff. I copied that, and he had like a flare 90, and like these kicks and twirls and stuff. but it was only one flare. I didn't know that you could continue the flare. I really didn't know that there was such a thing that you could do 2 or 3.
So
Just
you
as
saw
I'd seen
Flair and
Gordy.
90. Sorry to cut you off, but you saw Flair and 90 first from Tekken.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh wow,
that
you
was
didn't
it.
even see. So you weren't like you didn't see any breaking before that. You just saw
No,
one random guy doing
no,
windmill, and that was it. That's the only thing you saw.
yeah. Yeah, the only breaking that I saw was what me and my friends had invented, which today I come to know it's more correctly kick dance than it is breaking. But we were
Mm.
doing it to rap, and we were
Mm.
making our own beats with our mouth, like beatboxing. We had a guy that would
Oh,
make the
that's
beat,
sick.
and I was not that good at rapping in the crew, so I would do the dance stuff
Oh,
too
right.
while they were rapping,
That's about the vibe, isn't
and
it?
I'd
Getting
battle the other
together.
kids. Yeah,
Fuck, I
and then
couldn't.
I had a friend. There was a friend from another school. When I did get to high school, I uh, I was part of like you had I really don't like saying this because it's not a good example to kids, but we had these like little kiddie crews. They were more like gangs, but we didn't do illegal stuff, not really. But we would it was like instead of breaking, we had like street fighting. That was our thing. You know, we didn't have breaking. We'd have like, oh man, we heard this other kid beat up everybody in this other town. He must be bad. Let's go show them. And then like we'd meet
Mm.
up with them in like a cul-de-sac secluded, and we just like friends would make a circle, and we'd like go in and one on one. And then if you lost, you were like, oh, okay, he is legitimately a good fighter,
Mm. That's
you
different,
know.
isn't it?
So we do
Yeah, I
that.
heard that's what it is
I
like in
was
South
rolling with
Africa,
that.
though. People actually were really into
Uh,
fighting, like street fighting. So, because my
yeah,
grandfather was too.
yeah, yeah,
He used to tell me a lot of
yeah.
stories that he used to actually beat people up all the time, and he was like obsessed with karate, and until he became, he said he was the best martial artist
Yes,
in South Africa in his time, and Ian
yeah,
McTavish,
dude.
and him and his brothers used to go in gangs and beat people up on the bus and shit like that, and I'm like, damn, okay,
That's
and
it.
that's how the word got around,
That's
like,
it.
yo, don't
That's
mess
it.
with that family, they'll beat you up.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That was it, and that was street culture. That was like you see breaking in the Bronx in the 70s and the 80s in when it spread out through more than the Bronx. You know, when it spread out, started to spread out to other areas. Um, Breaking was like the thing that you didn't have to fight, right? Like you'd go to the clubs and you'd show like who's the bigger man with the cool dancing, you know, and with less fights. Like this very famous club that's gonna come more to light in future in b-boy history and hip hop history is called the Funhouse, which was a massive club in New Jersey that had like it could hold like 3,000, 4,000 people in this club, and apparently there were no fights, man, in the club. There were no fights, bro. You're
When
talking
breaking
about like
started.
you're talking about New yeah, bro. You're talking about like New Jersey, New Jersey Bronx people, like Queens, different boroughs, like, and no fights. It's ridiculous. They would sort it out with dancing. So like that's like, but in South Africa, like before we had breaking, like, we couldn't sort it out with dancing. We would just sort it out with like having a good old fashioned street brawl, like,
Mm.
and yeah, so I could, it's totally cool. But we had a lot of that martial arts street fighting culture. A lot of my friends that were in my first breaking crew became professional fighters. And I think I would have certainly become a professional fighter if it wasn't for I, I consciously chose to go the breaking route. And I actually know the date when I
Mm.
had the discussion with my crew and like all that. And I was like, no, I want to, and so when I went back to the story, when I went to high school,
Mm.
I saw this kid. His name was JP, and he was dope at breaking, man. He was the first kid that smoked me. Was JP. I never got smoked ever, man. That kid smoked me, and then around the first time, I lost my first street fight around that time. And so when you lose a street fight, like you're not a part of the cool crew, you're like benched. You gotta like eat lunch alone and like until you redeem yourself. And I had like a rematch in 2 weeks' time, but during that 2 weeks, I started hanging around with these breaking kids. And so I consciously decided not to take the rematch. I was like, you know what, like you are all fake. Or like if I lose one fight, I lose all my friends. I don't dig this life. This is like such a bull crap lifestyle. And like, you know what? Look at these breakers. This thing is difficult. So I started trying to practice to smoke JP, and then eventually we were like pretty even, but he always had better footwork and flips, and he had everything that Eddie Gordo could do. Everything. I was not so good with the flips. He had everything Eddie Gordo could do. This kid could do, man. And eventually we became like training partners. I got into their crew, which was a legendary crew called the 1610 Assassins, which was like a neighborhood gang, which had a dance division. Yeah, so the 1610 was the postal code for that area, Edenville. Yeah, and then later on, they had strictly a dance division, which was called the 1610 Floor Assassins. So floor assassins, like dance floor. And then I was like certainly in that crew, and I was more geared towards doing that. And we became the best crew ever to this day from Johannesburg. We smoked everybody all the time. We had like rap scene. We had a rap album on the street. We had like riders. We tagged this whole wall in the park, and that park was our park. Like you get, Croydon Park. And yeah, but JP was really good, bro. And when I met him, that's when I really started to see breaking, because he had footwork. He knew the names of stuff. And then obviously I got into this older crew, and yeah, bro, there was a lot to learn. And that's when I started really breaking. And that was like from 2000, 2001. So by 2002, I had air flare, and I showcased it in 2003, the first to have 10 officially out here. And people were like, oh, wow. So,
oh shit, man.
Yeah.
So back now you're in 2000, you're with 1610 Assassins, right? So you started to battle more people?
Yeah.
Like, what was the scene like now in South Africa? Was it getting bigger?
Okay, so in about 2000, 2001 to about 2003, the scene was so cool because there were no commercial events. So what happened was there were house parties, and the cool kids would have house parties. Whether their parents would allow them, I can't remember. Pretty bad parents, because it was like alcohol and things.
Yeah.
It was like I don't know what was going on. But there were house parties by different neighborhoods, different schools, and like we'd go to all those house parties and smoke everyone. And 1610, the leader of the crew that time, Renzo, who's the younger brother of our MMA Hall of Fame fighter Dino Bagatine. Dino was in the crew at that time, but Dino like made a proper career out of martial arts, like proper. But his younger brother was the leader of the Floor Assassins, and he used to host a house party almost every weekend. And part of the house party was like everybody else was drinking and getting drunk and fanning about with females. Not that I didn't do my fair share of fanning about, but I was just in the dance floor the whole time, bro. Like, I was there training, bro. Training. Like people were eating and drinking, and me and JP were just like smoking each other, smoking. And every now and then somebody else would come, and yeah, they'd come in for like 20 minutes and then they'd, dip out. Yeah, but that was a good scene. Every neighborhood had at least one crew, and we would invite them around. We had kids from Soweto, which is like, it's abbreviated Southwestern Township. So in apartheid time, you had towns called townships that were allocated to black people, and they had to live there. okay, during apartheid.
Mm.
And you could commute to work in the white areas or the mixed areas via a taxi. But the taxi, what we call a taxi, is like a big square thing. And it's like, at that time, it was only for like black people, right? Now anybody can use it, but kind of mostly people that don't have money, which is still for the major part, like the population is still like 80 or more than 80%, like 90% black people right here.
Mm.
And so you'll find like probably 80% of the taxi bus are still mostly black people that are in it as passengers, but that's not because of racism. That's just because of like the numbers, right?
Yeah.
The demographics. But back then, I don't think it was allowed, but that's how they would commute with those taxi buses. And so Southwestern Township was one of those towns where black people had to live, right? And back in 2002, 2000 and maybe one, let's say 2002, 2003, maybe 2001, we had the best crew from that township, Soweto, which is now not a township, it's a nice area now. They would come and sleep over. They would stay at Renz's house for the house party. They'd sleep there, and we would session. And then we also had guys. So Cape Town started 10 years. Their history is 10 years prior to us because the political setting was a little bit easier. It's more of like a touristy town. And so they had a crew called Black Noise, Black Noise got really popular for going to Battle of the Year Germany a number of times. And they had help from America, from like the Zulu Nation would like share like some tapes and stuff. So they had material. Not only did they start in the late 80s, which was like way ahead of us, but they also had material from America. So like I was telling you earlier, I had to learn from Tekken. These dudes were learning from like hip hop tapes, man.
Right.
You know, they had coaching. We didn't have that. And so they were way ahead of us via time and also via like knowledge. But we still had their best crew. Their best crew, which was like Black Noise Jr., was like Azanian B-boys. And Azanian had slept at Renzel's house on a number of occasions. And, you know, a lot of people don't know that. This is like top secret info. A lot of people don't know that. But the Renzel, 1610 Floor Assassins, was so instrumental and so important because we had guys from Soweto sleeping there. We had guys from Cape Town, from the ghetto, bro. These Azanian guys, these were not like soft boys. This is one of the worst ghettos in the world. There's a documentary on BBC, I think, something about prison gangs or the worst prison gangs in the world. I can't remember the title. Ross Kemp, I think, gangs. I think that's what it's called. I'll send you a link later. But his show was on television about, he would go to the different gang areas in the country, in the world, go to all the different gangs in the world, and he'd interview like these ghetto gangs. And when he went to that Cape Town prison and he looked at those gang people, he couldn't complete the interview. He said it was the worst thing he ever saw. It turned his stomach, you know. And so these kids, these Azanian people, they come from like that setting, that area, that kind of hardship. And those guys were sleeping at Renzo's house. Now, Renzo was a white kid. So, bro, this was like the world doesn't know how important hip-hop and breaking was for unifying and being the tool to break racism. Like, after apartheid ended, dude, it's not enough that a law just says, okay, no, we're not going to be racist anymore. Oh, dude, it's not that easy. It takes years and years, and it takes tools and machines to reverse engineer people's thinking. And guess what? Nobody understood those tools, bro. They had their ideas, governments had their ideas, and they did a great job. But one tool that I believe was the most important, that's undervalued and underappreciated and hasn't been written about and spoken about, was the tool of hip hop, man. Where else you could have $1 million funded programs that would struggle to have people in that time, in that setting, have black people, white people, mixed people mixing dance and singing and rapping and writing without fighting and coming together and pushing their skills and sleeping at each other's houses in white areas. Dude, you'll never get that. Never. Hip hop did that. Breaking did that, and we did that. That was my crew, you know, and it was just off of the heels of apartheid, bro. It was right off the heels. Apartheid ended in 94. I was doing windmills by 98. By 2001, 2002, we're having house parties with guys from the ghetto of Cape Town and guys from Southwestern Township, abbreviated Soweto. And it's like, bro, like, what in God's name? Like, how are you kids? There's adults, there's politicians that cannot do this for racism.
Right.
Today in America, look what's happening in America, man. You got people rioting, BLM, like the politicians with all the millions, they cannot sort it out, bro.
Yeah,
We, the
bring hip hop
stupid
back,
kids,
man. Put hip hop everywhere, man.
bro, we sorted it out.
Yeah, that's
We
unreal.
solved it.
That's beautiful, man. To think like if those kids were to go well from those hardships, right? They would go to any other white guy's house in any kind of other culture, you know, whether it was a different type of dance style or even if they were fighters, man, they wouldn't treat each other the same and like it was with hip hop, right? That's amazing, man. That's a beautiful story, man.
Yeah, bro, it touches my, every time I think about it, I get emotional and I want to cry because like, yeah, I'm supposed to be this tough guy and shit, but like, bro, it was so hard, man. And every time we didn't know, bro, we didn't even know. Like, we had to be taught racism, you know, we're just kids being born. We didn't know what that shit was, bro. And then, like, we didn't even know. We just, it felt so special. We weren't aware of, like, all of this, like, this racism going back hundreds of years. And we didn't know how important it was, you know, that we were doing what we were doing, but we were doing it. And now looking back, I get emotional because like there's so much like trauma in the world, and there's so much tension because of racism. Like people are still just cannot figure it out, and like, man, we did it better than anyone in the world, and we were stupid little kids. And when I talk to guys on Facebook, like maybe like a few years ago, I got into this big argument on social media with some like, I don't know what's the right term. They were like pro African American culture, pro like, you know, they would use hip hop as a tool to like promote like a Black American history and pride, and like that's their movement. And I got into this like big argument because one of the guys that was doing this, I was like, listen, bro, but like, I love what you're doing, but I don't like the overarching message, because for me, coming from a country where we weren't allowed, and it was my generation that started to be allowed, and we did a wonderful job of it. We did a better job than what I'm seeing you guys are doing now in America. You guys are still like using the N-word on your own selves, and then like you still have, there's no laws segregating your communities, but you still have neighborhoods that are like 80% Black in America. And why is that? And they might say, you know, because of like systemic racism and unequal opportunities, that they are like, those are the neighborhoods and stuff. But like,
it's as if they're stirring the pot
bro,
even more, man. They're not even trying to solve the problem. They're just stirring the pot.
Like for me, it's like, I don't know because I'm not American, but all I know is that we had a lot more difficult time. We had a harder time.
Oh man,
because we came out of apartheid, and we sorted it out. And how we sorted it out was by having an overarching message of hip hop that it's all unity, bro. We don't want to hear any of this like racial talk. We don't want to hear none of this stuff. When we come to dance, when we come to rap, we want to be in this bubble that's just like a new bubble. It's a new culture, and none of that mistakes from the past comes in. Like, leave that stuff. Teach the history. I understand. This is where the argument was with this American guy. Like, he was saying, oh, but you're disregarding the history, and that's part of the problem. And I'm saying, no, I'm not disregarding the history. I'm saying, do the history. Teach your white brothers. Teach your Black brothers. Teach your Asian brothers. Like, everybody needs to know the mistakes of the past. But when we walk in this hip-hop door to dance, leave all of that trauma and bad feelings outside. And you come here, and guess what? This is our culture now. It's a new culture. There doesn't have to be any mistakes. It's a clean new slate. And that's my overarching message. And that's where I got in a big argument with this guy. There was a misunderstanding, as if I'm like saying, I don't want to acknowledge the pain of the past. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm saying is, do that also, but also acknowledge our message of how we got it right, because we did get it right. And we got it right in a short amount of time, bro. We're talking apartheid ended in 94. Yeah. You guys, like, what is the timeline in America? Late 60s?
Yeah, I'm not sure, man.
I need to check my notes.
I'm not sure. Yeah. But fuck, yeah. that's you got a valid point there, man. And that's to even think about what it was like when you were with those kind of guys, you know, just being present with them and like, wow. But you were too young, right? Yeah. Too young to actually even know that. To be sitting in a room with.
It's like we knew it, but we didn't know the depth.
We're united.
Yeah, we didn't understand the depth of it.
Yeah.
We didn't understand the depth of it, bro. We didn't understand. Like we acknowledged the dirty looks we would get from older people. We would acknowledge the looks we'd get from police and.
So you guys were hanging out of the parties as well?
Yeah, bro. As I say, we like took over this one park. Okay.
Take me through that. What you guys were getting up to?
So we would do a lot of battling and stuff, but we had this one park that was in an area called Croydon, and it was a little bit away from Renzel's house. But we had the riders in the crew, do a mural of that whole wall. It was big, bro. This thing was like maybe, I don't know, bro, like 50 meters or something.
A big wall to paint on, man.
And we put our crew name. It said 1610 Assassins and Floor Assassins, something like that. I may have the photo still. And that was to show everybody this is our park. And we were practicing there every day of the weekend. And at that time, my family moved away from that area. My old man got a little bit luckier with work, and my brother got into a college. And so we moved a little bit closer to that kind of lifestyle. And I would still commute. I'd go there every weekend still and go to the Croydon Park. And so now the rest of the neighborhood and people, passerbys, cars, vehicles, they would see this cultural thing going on. And we would invite crews there. We would have our own battles. We didn't need an energy drink company. We'd have our own battles every weekend. And it wasn't a 2-minute time limit, and you couldn't do choreography. That was one thing. One thing was we would, if you did the same throwdown that we saw you do last week, bro, you're done. You're done. That's it. You're choreographing. So get out of here. That's not breaking. That's not talking with the music. You're not actually emoting. You're not saying that's a speech. Yeah, that's a prepared speech. It's not a discussion. It's not a talk. Yeah. It's a speech.
Because hip hop's about authenticity, man.
For us, it was like, I understand with the pro breaking, you need routines now. I myself do have a couple, but
absolutely.
In terms of back then, the way that we were doing it before the internet and stuff taught us how to do a battle. Like, oh, you need these like routines and stuff. We were like, no, bro.
I mean, that's the difference. Yeah. I mean, that's the difference between actual competition battles is you are preparing. It is like a script. And that's what I do too. But like when you're actually battling in a cypher, the only thing I ever have scripted are burners. That's it. Everything else is just off feeling and communication, you know, like with my opponent.
Yeah, so that was that. And then we actually got very popular. We ended up like the first kids from Johannesburg on TV. There was like a TV show that was starting to document Black urban culture, and a great focus of it was on hip hop and Pansula later on. Pansula is like a purely native South African dance. Very cool. It's like, I would call it South African tap dance. Like I would motivate people to go study that. Pokemon crew came here from France to actually study that dance.
Oh, wow.
Firsthand. So yeah, they're smart boys for doing that. But yeah, the show was called Shizners, and we were like the first Gauteng crew on there. I think the Zanian B-boys were also on there because, of course, like I said, Black Noise and the Zanian guys, they were ahead of the curve. And They were really good and stuff. And so they were on there, but we were the other crew on there from Gauteng, the only Joburg Gauteng crew. And so we were on TV, and people were like, "Oh man, you boys are getting on TV and stuff," you know. And that time you didn't have satellite or cable. You had like network television. You had like four or maybe five channels. That was it. You know.
Nice, man.
So we had a time slot on one of those, right? So that was like a good market share in terms for like little kids. And so we started spreading, bro. We started spreading, and then we started going to El Dorado Park, which was like so for our viewers out there, American and Australian, they won't understand this stupid term. It's an ethnic term, but again, like all these ethnic terms are stupid. They're man-made, right? Like black, white, Asian, other, something other than other. What else is, you know, what else is there in the DNA? Oh, you want a job? Tick one of these boxes. Oh shit, what? I don't know which one must I tick. You know, like you got a job application. There's all these like racial groups.
Why does your
South
ethnicity
Africa,
matter?
one of the groups was called Colored, and Colored means it's a mixed ethnic group, basically like halfway between black and white, with maybe some Asian, not like Oriental. I'm talking Asian, like Indian.
Oh,
something like that. So mixed, right? And so there was an area that was also predominantly comprised of that ethnic group, colored people, was in El Dorado Park. And so we actually went there. And now let me tell you straight up, to this day, there's no white boys that are going in there, bro. Let me tell you. And I was going in there with my crew, bro. I was like maybe 15, bro, and we were giving a workshop. We were giving a workshop at 15 years old. I had flares and air flare, so I was teaching these kids, right? And they saw us on TV, and they were like, they thought maybe we were getting paid. We were not getting paid. We were getting ripped off because we were stupid kids. But we looked famous. We looked like we knew what we were doing. We looked like we were the leaders. You know, we were just as broke as them, but they didn't know that. So they let us come and teach them and give workshops like, oh man, look at breaking can do for you. It can like, you can be like these dudes on TV. Like, yo, bro, we're still broke. Whether we're on TV or not on TV, we still broke, homie. But like, don't tell that pretty girl over there.
Still an illusion. Well, that's what Instagram is as well, man. Everyone's fucking rich on there, apparently. Nah.
Yeah, bro. Then they're at home, bro, crying like in their mom's like spare bedroom. Crying in depression.
Let me wipe away my tears so I can make this story.
Yeah. So yeah, bro, that answers that question. Is that we did start to spread a lot, and then there were other crews at the time. There were guys that were maybe more popularly known because they were sticking to like the competition scene. Like they started to come in events, as I say, and there was a crew in the north called Demolition Squad that I eventually became a part of. I did become a part of them eventually because there were some tragedies with 1610 and there were some problems, and so 1610 like it started to go like at a certain stage like stop for a while. And I was pro that time already. I was dancing pro by 16. Like I was in high school, I was getting a paycheck for dancing. Yeah, I was getting a monthly income. I was dancing, and it was the greatest thing in my life. That's what I wanted to do. And then
from just battling,
Demolition Squad, battling, but
teaching.
We started to get more into like showbiz, like activations, promotions, and shows and stuff like that. And I was like the what do they call it? Speciality act. I was like the dynamite, you know, like you'd have like these dancers doing their choreo, and the director would be like, "Can you do choreo?" And I'd be like, "Dude, I do not do choreo. Whack as hell. Don't tell me to count." Like I'm like, "This is what I can do. Have a look at it. Tell me when to sneak in. Like you can choreograph the dancers in front of me. so that it doesn't, so your crowd can't see me walking the fuck in. I'm walking the fuck in because I'm not doing choreo. Because I was
Nice.
told the shit was whack, man. That's what I was told. You know? So yeah, I'd come in and I'd blow it up, and they'd pay me the same as they'd pay any
Oh,
other
dope.
dancer, you know.
Yeah, right. Because you
Bro,
have that specialty, man.
yeah, I talk, bro. No, but I talk the talk as a little
Oh,
kid, bro.
yeah.
Listen, you remember, I was not a softie. I was a small
Mm.
little scrawny kid, but I would go up to a grown ass man in a suit, and I'd be like, "Yo, listen. I found out from those 5 other hot chicks with the boobies that are dancing that you're paying them X amount. You're paying me X amount, bro. Otherwise, I'm taking that speaker home with me." You
Mm.
know. And then the dude's
Yeah,
like, "Oh,
this
okay,
guy
yeah,
was
no,
hustling at 16,
gotta pay
man,
this
making money. Wow, nice.
dude." Yeah.
Dude,
So
that's
yeah, and
sounds like you got no
demolition
fear,
squad was
man.
really
That's
popular.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds
And I
like that
learned
kind
the
of
fear
neighborhood.
later.
Yeah, that neighborhood kind of made you really tough, hey? Thickened your skin.
It did, bro. It did. Like, you know what was funny though? When I was like 21, I started properly doing martial arts. Before
Mm,
then, I was self-taught and it was street fighting,
mm,
which gets you a certain way. But when you go into competitive sport fighting, and you start to spar with guys that have been doing Olympic boxing or judo
mm.
or stuff like that,
They're gonna fuck you
my
up.
friend, there's no bricks, there's no beer bottles in that ring, bro. It's you and this kid with a little leather glove around your hand, and that kid's gonna beat the hell out of your street fighting ass. Let me tell you, these MMA dudes, like, let's dispel all the myths and, oh, street fighter, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna kick you in the balls. That guy can kick you in the balls too, bro. He can also do that if he wants, that MMA fighter. But like, the reason
Yeah,
he's not kicking you in the balls is he's gonna kick you in the liver, and then you're gonna pee. You know, you're gonna
yeah,
pee
you can
funny
piss
colors
blood,
for 2 weeks.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, and
All right.
so when I was 21, I started training properly martial arts, right?
Right.
And that's when I learned I'm not a badass. I'm a freaking wimp. I'm not a badass. Like, these kids that do this stuff competitively, this kid will come on with like googly 4 eyes, man, and like a little neat little cut, bro. He'll come from like a Jewish school or something, nice neighborhood. But this kid will be like a state judo champion. That kid will throw you, bro. He'll throw your tough guy speaking ass all the way down there, you know. And so that's why I learned very quickly. I was like, no, you know what? I speak a big game. I speak
Mm.
a big game, and I'm loud and stuff like that. But fighting in the club and like sport fighting is two different things. So
Nah. Yeah, definitely,
when I had
man.
to go to these hard, yeah, I knew how to go to these hard neighborhoods and stuff and battle and go to clubs when I was underage. And a lot of that stuff is, it's like peacocking. You'll get out of, like, maybe 90% of street fights, you can get out of them by just looking or sounding scarier than the other guy. That's it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all that, yeah, intimidation, kind of fake it to the other guy. Like, yeah, it
Yeah.
gets intimidated. So, so coming on now, you're 21, right? And what's breaking like? How's it evolved now for you? And what have you
That
been
was
doing? Because you're a
quite a
power
lot.
mover, right?
It evolved a great deal. Hey?
You're a power mover.
Say again.
You're mainly doing power moves.
So, I made a decision when I was 15, and I told my crew, I said, guys, now that we have internet and I've seen the Koreans, right? The
Yeah.
Koreans, like, God bless Expression Crew, like, Expression Crew changed my life. Not only did they change Korea and the world, but they changed my life. To this day, I messaged Woo-sung this week, and I was like, dude, God bless you, man. You changed my whole life. I would have quit breaking if I didn't see Expression Crew and
Why is
and
that?
then the aftermath of Expression Crew, which was, you know, the gamblers, the Oberwang and all of that. You know,
Mm.
Expression opened the door for the world to like see what Korea had. And when I saw those guys, the quality of their body angles, the strength, I wasn't interested in doing footwork anymore. I wasn't interested in doing I was doing like Benji type stuff. I was doing like a lot of Benji stuff, like flexibility,
Yeah.
that stuff. In like from 98, 99, 2000, I was doing like a mix of everything. May have flare and like an air track here and there, but I was more like, I would like air track, stop, jump on my head, you know, like crazy bone breaking stuff. But when I saw the Koreans, man, it was like I saw, you know, like it was like I saw Jean-Claude Van Damme again for the first time, you know, with that straight leg, bam.
Oof,
It was like I saw Bruce Lee with that hard punch, wham. That's how the Koreans were power moving, bro. And I'd never seen it like that. God bless. The Texan guys were really amazing. They were also powerful. I probably would have been inspired by Texas if I had seen that footage in 98, 99, but I didn't see it. I saw maybe a 3-second clip of, I think it was, oh man, I forget this dude's name, bro. George. I saw Curious George, and there was some other power mover from there. There were a bunch of power movers from Texas, dude. Texas was the power move spot, bro. Nobody like, I don't know if people don't understand this or they forgot this, but like LA was, yes, dude. LA was one thing. Like, I mean, the West Coast, so California, like that whole area, bro. You had like Air Force crew, bro. You can't speak power move without speaking Air Force crew. Take away Air Force crew and you take away like 30% of the power move game, you know? But then you had Soul Control, Cucho, come on. Cucho set it off for everybody. The first air track I ever saw from a human being and not a video game was Cucho in the Run DMC Jason Evans video. That was the first like time, bro. But aside from that, you also have to acknowledge Texas with power moves because they were doing badass stuff. Like I saw a video, I thought that Pablo Flores, God rest his soul, from Soul Control. I thought Pablo Flores, the guy that made the continuous air flare famous.
From Brazil.
Him? No, he was, Pablo Flores was from Soul Control crew. So Cucho's crew. Yeah. And they had, I forget which battle it was, bro. Was it like Lords of the Floor or something like that? It was in 98 where Pablo did like the first continuous air flares. He might have done like 4 or 5 or something like that. And everybody went like, because before then it was just like one in between flare and stuff. Now, I know from my research, there were other places that were doing more than one continuously, but they didn't do it officially for the rest of the world to say, hey, you know, so that's why we accredit that to Soul Control and Pablo. Like it goes down on Wikipedia, and you know, when we gave the the breaking community, when we explained air flare to gymnastics, because you know gymnastics now has air flare in, and they speak about having taken it from breaking, and they speak about Pablo Flores, right? And so this is how immensely important California was and all those guys.
Yeah.
But I saw a video and I couldn't distinguish between Pablo Flores and this other Texas guy that could have been Curious George. I couldn't distinguish because I was like, the footage looked the same in time. The guys looked the same in body shape. The video quality was so bad that you couldn't really see a face.
No.
So I thought it was the same guy, bro. I thought maybe he just ate more chips on the one day and his form was a little bit different. You know?
Oh shit.
Yeah.
So then,
but that's what Korea, bro. Korea, when I saw those guys, that's when I decided. I told my crew, I said, guys, I'm practicing only palm move for a while.
Yeah.
I'm gonna focus. Like I'll still do footwork. I'll have my footwork and stuff, but have somebody else in the crew jump in when they got to smoke the burners on the footwork.
Yeah.
Because I'm focusing on, I'm going to be the best power mover ever. Like this is my journey.
Nice.
That's my decision.
I love it. Love it, man. And then, okay, so now you're getting into a lot more power moves now, and you've figured out, would you say a philosophy within power moves saying maybe more is not the best, but maybe even just working with the musicality a bit more as well, right? Like, because we touched on this a little bit. I started getting very
Could
you tell us more about that?
moves. So, man, when I made that decision to I wanted to be one of the best power movers in the world.
Yeah.
And then I asked myself, how do you do that? Like, how do you do that?
Mm.
And then I answered myself. And I answered myself by looking at my favorite guys. And I was like, why is this guy my favorite? Because he's doing less airflares than that guy. So why do me stretch? So I
Mm.
talk to myself, right? I introspect.
For sure.
And I get quite intellectual about stuff and I say Stretch, why do you like this guy more than that guy if he's doing more?
Mm.
I'm like, that's a good question. Now let me analyze. So I take my favorite guys, I put their videos up, and then I put videos up of guys that are doing longer rounds, more moves, and I'm like, why are they not my favorite? Because in quantity, they should be your favorite. And I'm like, okay, so now you're talking qualitatively. So you're saying that these guys are higher quality. What? Now let's label that. What makes it a higher quality? Because then you can do that for yourself. So I
Right.
started looking at these guys that were my favorites, and I was like, what is he doing with his leg? What is he doing with his head? What is he doing with his hand? How is he starting it? How is he ending it? Let me look at the sequencing. That's when a real light bulb went off. When I was like, hold on a minute. These dudes are sequencing. They're structuring their throwdown differently to everybody else that are doing much more rounds. And maybe that's what's appealing to my brain. There's something
Mm.
that's engaging. And I started to find out what that was, and I knew it consciously and actually wrote down terms for it. And I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to take it way further than these guys did it. I'm going to take it way further. I don't have to have as good moves as them. I don't have to have any of their dope stuff, because my sequencing, my intellect in the power move is going to be better. And like, that was what I went with, bro. I went down a rabbit hole.
What did you find in that rabbit hole, man? Because, okay, so it's not quantity, and so clearly it's quality, but what makes it a quality? You know, it's like, so seeing one air flare is better than seeing 10. So is it the transitions? Because are people just who are doing 10 air flares, they're just doing it from a basic stance versus doing it into a fresh way in and then just doing one? Or
So
is there
there's a
more
lot of,
to it than
so
that?
you're talking about, yeah, there's a way more to it. So you're talking about the immediate obvious things that a viewer can notice within the first month of breaking.
Right.
But it's still, you'll sit there and you'll be confused. Like, nobody can explain. A lot of guys can't explain as to why some Korean dude that looks nothing like them, that doesn't appeal to their identity politics, why is that kid your favorite? You know, he shouldn't appeal to your identity, your personality metrics. You know, like, we all do that. Like, you watch a movie and you see a hero that like looks like you or your dad, and you're like, oh man, and you love the movie because it like represents you, right? And you're like, oh, I
Mm.
could be a hero too one day. There's all of this. There's this subconscious game that's going on, and directors and artists, they prey on that to sell products. Beautiful. It's awesome. Psychology, man. But now, why would you be a fan of a Korean dude? Why would you be out there promoting Korean culture when you're not even, I'm freaking from Africa? Like, what? And I figured out why. It's because there's something engaging about that combo that appeals to your brain in the same way that you listen to music and you're like, why do I like this music? Why do some people put certain musicians in these symphonies, these orchestras and stuff like that? Why? Why do this? What makes this violin player better than that? And they can tell you why. They can say, oh well, look at the sequencing she's doing. Look at a guitar player. Look at these advanced blues boxes, this caging. Look at all this music theory that they're able to do Aeolian scales. You know, like the devil's note, like these weird things, right? And that's music theory. And there's actual reasons as to why one guitar player is valued more than the other, right? Why they're better,
Mm.
how they're better. There are these reasons, there's metrics to measure. Now in breaking, there's that too. There is that in power moves, and I started analyzing and writing that stuff down so that it could help my game. And I found that the obvious subtle nuances are there. Oh, he's entering from a flip. Oh, he's entering from this. He's doing this move. Yeah, there's that. And then it's like more obvious stuff like, oh, his leg is straight. He's faster. You know,
He's doing it
okay,
more
his haircut
difficult with one
makes it.
hand.
Yeah, there's all of that stuff, but then there's more to it still.
Yeah,
And
there
like what
is.
I started to look at is I say like some guys, they'll like ride the momentum wave before they throw a difficult thing. So they'll do like one air flare, two air flare, gaining momentum, three air flare. Now they'll do like a real one-hander to a chair catch, or they'll do like a bunch of 90s because they've caught the sweet spot already in the air flare. They've built up the momentum. And then after that, like big move, now they go into like 4 windmills. You know, okay, like so Chico sequenced like that. So Chico would do like windmill, 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 flight, windmill, 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 flight, windmill, 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 flight,
Yeah.
windmill 2000 finish. You know, so it was like maybe like 3-4 windmills, flight, 3-4 windmills, flight. Okay, he still had a sequencing there because he goes 3-1, 3-1, 3-1. So you could look at that poetically and say A B A B A B A G finish. Now you start talking about something that's similar to poetry, because poetry is written like, you know, A B C C C C A B D D D D D A D. You know, this is how you start, and you can research like poetic structuring, and you can structure your combos like that. And that's why some poets are more appealing, and they're more theoretical, and they're more structural. And you look at their poems, and you're like, oh man, I love this. I love this poetic structuring. I'm going to choose this one. I like, you know, I haven't studied poetry in a long time, but there are different names to different structuring. And
Yeah.
if you're an aspiring poet, you can like kind of dedicate to a certain style of poetry and get famous for that. And so those patterns do occur in power move. And so like there's like that, like what I just described, like there's those kind of poetic patterns, but then you get like algebraic patterns, I call them, which is just basically a numbering way of doing it. It's like a math way of doing it. You can say, okay, if I do 2 windmills and I do 190, and then I do 2 windmills and then I do 4 90s, you know, now I'm starting to say, okay, like 2 times 2 is 4. You know, you're starting to do these patterns. And you can build up your stuff like that and say, oh, I'm only going to do 1 windmill and then 2 90s, then 1 flare, and then 2 90s, then 1 head spin, and then 2 90s. So now you're going via like numbering patterns, 1 2 1 2 1 4 1 2 1 4. Okay, or you could start doing algebraic patterns. You could literally say like x times 2 is 2x. Like you could assign moves to x, you know, and you could come out with like formulaic patterns. That's pretty cool. And the viewers, your audience's brain will pick that up subconsciously. Like everybody knows how to do basic math. They might not consciously realize it, right? Might not be able to say, tap their buddy on the shoulder and say, oh dude, did you see that like poetic structure that he did? That shit was straight Shakespearean. You know, he's not going to say that, but he's going to be like, dude, I like that dude.
Yeah.
But you as the artist do it consciously. You as the artist know. Your audience doesn't know. You're like manipulating their brain structures. You're appealing to their left brain or their right brain dominance, however they're wired, right? And that's who you appeal to. Like you appeal to the intellect, you know, who's more ordered, and you appeal to the creative.
So,
you know,
so you would
like,
say lack of a better word, more something more universal. You would say just a pattern. Like these are people doing patterns, like really interesting patterns that they can recognize quite easily. And they're like, I wonder why I like this guy.
Yeah.
Or is it more to it than that?
Yeah.
Does it go even further down?
But then there is a lot. It goes a lot further down. Like I've actually put together like a book because like some of the greats out there, like some of the greats have been talking with me. I mean, I'm speaking to guys like Michael Holman, who's now a friend of mine. He was the manager of New York City Breakers. I'm speaking to Little Caesar, who's like he's like a deity. I'm speaking to a lot of like very intellectual, smart people. about some of these advanced theories that they're quite enjoying the conversations, and I've written it down, and I'm going to put it out there in different forms of books and stuff. But one really technical one is like what I had come to be doing more in my power move style that I didn't realize until I started studying like music theory, because I can read basic music. So what I started to see is like my favorite power movers, they were actually moving in musical notation. They just didn't know it. Like, you know, you have some guitar players like I think Albert King, BB King, and maybe even Santana that, correct me if I'm wrong, we'll do the research on Santana, I'm not sure, but a lot of the world's favorite guitar players, blues players, didn't know how to read music. They didn't know how to read sheet music. They were naturally playing it by ear. But now musical theorists could take their songs that they played and their patterns and write them out, and there was sound, intellectual notations and patterns which later on were taught in the musical theory world. Like you can learn blues boxes, you can learn these BB King formulas and stuff that he was doing, like Aeolian scales and stuff like that, you know. You can learn these things. Some guys were just doing it, right? And now the same goes for power moves. Some guys were just moving in these musically, theoretically sound patterns. And if you talk to them, they'd be like, oh, what the hell are you talking about, bro? I don't know what a Aeolian scale is. I don't know. I just do what's fun, bro. You know? But actually subconsciously their brain is picking up on the language of the music, and they're
Moving
going accordingly. So so Little Caesar, like he concurred with us in a chat that I had with him, because he was saying he would always listen to the music when he'd do power move. He'd always listen to the music, but he's not listening to the drum, because that's only one layer. A lot of people that are very ignorant and like to sound intelligent in the breaking world, they might judge, or they might say, oh, but you don't know what the music, he was better on the music, right? And I'm like, what music? What are you talking about? And they're like, oh, he hit the one. Then he hit the hi-hat, you know, and then he did a freeze at the end of the measure. I'm like, oh, okay, so he hit the crash, he hit the cymbal, right? Okay, cool. So you're talking about he counted to 4 in his head in 2s.
Yeah.
That's your idea of what music is. Oh wow, great accomplishment, man.
A lot of people just wait for the 8 or the 16 count, you know.
Dude,
There's
like that's too
man.
rudimentary. You got to understand a breakbeat. You got to understand where breakbeat came from. A breakbeat came from a song. A song is not just 2/4, 2/4, 2/4. A song is many layers and different structuring, especially in funk. Funk formula is really weird. Funk music will be irregular patterns, right? You won't just get a time signature of like 2/4 or something. You might get like some weird irregular numbers like a 5 or a 7, and you're like, oh, what the hell? Funk is blues, and funk is, and now that's where breaks came out of that, right? Black rock. So now you take these records, and the DJ started looping the break. The break is literally broken song. It's a break in the record. What happens is all the other layers fall away, and you leave only the drum layer, okay, for a moment. Then the DJ started looping that, and they started making break beats out of these elongated loops of only the drum. So now when you're talking, and guys are saying, oh, the music, it didn't hit the beat. Bro, you're not actually talking music, really, if you want to get to it. You're talking about one layer, and that's fine. That's fine. But what about the other layers, the symphonies, the harmonies, the lyrics, and the string? Because you get different sheet musics. You have like one sheet for the drum guy, and you're like, hey, dude, here, play this. And then you go to the guitar guys that play string music, and it's a different, same song, different sheet. And you're like, dude, here, you're going to read this one. You're going to play this. And they read it, and they're like, oh, I'm going A, C, G, E, A, C, E, G. Oh, okay. Then I change over there, and I'm holding this note for 2 measures or whatever, you know? And that's, so back to the point is like a lot of people are talking about music, they don't really know what they're talking about. You look at Little Caesar, And he's like, I listen to the music. And when I discussed with him about what he's talking about, it's similar to what I was explaining with actual labels. And it's like, he would listen to a sound, right? He'd listen to a sound and maybe he'd windmill on that sound. And when the sound changed, maybe go up into something else. You know, if there's a high pitched sound, maybe it's a good time to do a 90 or a pencil head spin. Okay, but now you're talking about notes, bro. That high pitch is probably a G, right? Or an E, like, you know, something high pitched. You know, like, so if you're listening to guitar
That's
music,
next level though, man. Like, because I would say
yeah,
I'm trying to be all-rounder, but I would say I'm mainly focused on, well, I'm better at footwork and more character, I would say. Power moves, man, I have a lot of respect for that because I lack that the most. I'm trying, but I'm putting most of the effort into that. But to have power moves and then to be able to have the skill to create and work with that musicality, that's another level, man. Like, that's crazy.
yeah,
But
yeah,
also that same
that's
same
the
thing that you're talking
epitome.
about with musicality, also you can apply it to all the other aspects of the dance.
Yeah, absolutely. You're supposed to, right? You're
Yeah.
supposed to. This is where we look at someone who's doing footwork and it's like, why is he better? Is it just because he's visually more pleasing? No, dude, like there's more to that. You're examining him on different intellectual layers. So you're looking at him visually. Is his posture correct? Is his angling correct? Is he flat-handed when he shouldn't be? Like we're talking footwork, right? Is he opening his legs too much because he's hyper flexible, hyper mobile guy? Naturally will open his legs more. With certain footwork, it's going to look junk. How's he putting his foot down? Is he flat-footed on some of his footwork where he shouldn't be? Like Bronx footwork is really specific. Bronx footwork is really specific. We're not talking leg work and modifications and innovations that came out later, which welcomed more creativity. But you're talking like Bronx footwork, dude. There's a strict way to do it,
Okay.
and then there's musical stuff that goes with it, sure. But in terms of like the debate of like, are power movers not dancing as much? Bullshit, bro. Bullshit. They could be dancing more. They could be dancing more. Like it is easier to dress the music with all four limbs. It's
Right.
way easier to dress the music with four limbs. You have more ability. Now we're going to take away two limbs and go upside down and dress the music. Come on,
Yeah.
bro. Don't be disrespecting power heads. You should be on your knees sucking them off, mate.
Oh,
You know?
okay, man. Okay,
Like,
okay,
right?
okay. Okay. But I know,
Like,
I know
bow
what you're saying.
down.
No, it is. It's definitely a lot harder to have good musicality as a power mover. I mean, that's why all those dudes that do have musicality as a power mover, like, dude, that's why they're all at these major events and stuff, because that's what people do want to see. Like, that shit's even harder, man. Like you're saying, man, 4 limbs versus 2, or your back, or your head.
And upside down. Like, you know what? Look at ballet. Ballet works very similarly to the way that we're actually working musically in power move. So ballet works on string music as well. It's often, most times, no drum. It's violin and piano. Both are string instruments. Now, that's sheet music. They don't just play, bro. In ballet, they're like, dude, those musicians know what they're doing. They might take that to the choreographer. Certainly will. And some of the ballet dancers certainly will. All of them, if they're formally trained, can read music. Like it's part of your qualification as a ballet dancer. It's part of your Giacchetti. You've got to study music theory, dance history, anatomy.
Build that
You
awareness.
actually have to like probably play piano, dude. You got to play piano. You got to write musical tests. So they can read sheet music. So they can take the piano players be like, oh, this is where I'm gonna pirouette. This is where. They don't have to do it like these fraudsters that are like talking about, oh, music, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Bro, that's counting. That's counting, dog.
Yeah,
That's counting.
yeah.
That's linear.
I see what you're saying.
What, like?
Yeah, because
like don't tell me freeze on the 8, bro. Tell me to freeze on the last G. Tell me to freeze on the high E. You know, then like now you're talking to me, but these guys don't do that. And power movers are doing this. They just, as I said, they're doing it by ear, subconsciously. They're naturals at it. But now I'm at the level where I've taken all those natural years, and I'm like, why do I do it this way? I'm starting to study my past self, and I'm starting to study more music theory, and I'm trying to say, oh, I was always doing a 90 on the high E because it's a high, you know, it's a high pitched sound, you know.
But but also, I've seen your breaking, and like you're a really good power mover, right? And you also play, like you're an artist in other things as well. You're a guitarist, you do graphic design and jiu-jitsu, right? So it could kind of come more natural to you, but like there's not a lot of power movers that can do that, and they don't have that type of skill to be able to play more with the music, though, right?
So like, you know what, who is probably an unconscious, subconscious, I gotta study my
Subconscious
Freud.
confidence.
I don't know what's the difference. Yeah, there's like this unconscious and then there's subconscious. Let's just call it sub for now. I'll brush up for the next interview. But Punisher plays the guitar really well. He actually makes albums and songs.
Right, yeah.
This guy's a musician. He's like really good. He's also, in my opinion, the best powerhead. In my opinion, the best. Like, that's it. I said it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's a lot of reasons why I'll give it to him. A lot of across the spectrum. Sequencing, form, duration, speed control, all of these things that he's doing that make an already difficult combo much more difficult. Like you take a difficult combo, like you're going to do like flare to 2090s, right? Let's take that. Okay, now do that same combo, but do the flare with a straight leg. You don't bend in the knee or the ankle, and you don't bend in the hip. You go perfect flare that never changes height, front, back, or sides. Do that to 2090, and also open your legs big on the night. Bro, now it's another level, dude. Now we're going to add in speed difficulty. Now we're going to say, don't just do it fast, because then you could catch that wave. You know, it's like a free surf wave. You can catch it and lock in and just let that speed take you. Don't do it fast. Do it slow, and then speed up at the end when the music comes to a climax, right? So you'll drill. Don't just 90. Don't just no. You wait for the sound. The music's gonna go. You wait for that high E. So now you're like hitting like a C on a guitar, like dang. Then it goes. Now you go. Now you hit it up, bro. But that's a different note. So now now we're getting layers, bro. We're going up layers, and dudes don't even see that, bro. They don't even understand it. But Punisher, dude, that dude was doing that stuff, bro.
But you would say when people are doing that kind of stuff, would you say you have sets, like having sets? Because versus when you're in a competition, a lot of people have sets, but then it's harder to be with the music. You need to be able to break away from that shit, though. The music.
Yeah. So if you sequence in small pieces, so you like choreograph small pieces. Look, it's easy with breaking. It's so piss easy with breaking because the break beats are almost always 2/4 with a hi-hat in a similar place and the crash, the cymbal in a certain place. So you know, without a fail, you know it's gonna go on the one. Boom, 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 boom. Finish. You know? So boom.
Yeah.
So you know where you're gonna put your blow ups or your freezes. You know where the crash is at the end of maybe there's 2 measures, right? Like whatever it is, right? And you know, like you're gonna on that crash, that really ending cymbal, that when you want to freeze. But now you know it's almost always the same with break beats because it's been re-put together, a looped break. So you know it's 2/4, 2/4, something after that, 2/4, 2/4, something after that, and then 4 of those, and you'll have a big crash here where you should freeze or you should flip. And so if you start to choreograph your breaking in these little chunks to say, you know what, I need my stuff to have that rhythm, right? It's not music yet, it's rhythm. It's 2/4, 2/4. So you know you've got to have your small little packets within your choreo. Then if the song is different, it's sped up, or if the DJ mixes it, you know, like maybe you were getting to where you wanted to do something and the DJ changed the song. You're like, okay, crap, but it's fine because I still have another, I can just do this again over here and wait for him to put these 4s now, and he'll put the crash there. So you can just resequence it while you're going. You can like be anticipating where that big cymbal's coming and you want to freeze or flip on that, and the DJ might flip it on you, but you know he's coming back with another 2/4 song. You know the BPM's almost always the same. And so you choreograph your stuff in little packets. These days, guys don't...
To be able to break it. Yeah.
These days, guys just... Yeah, these days, guys don't have to do that. These days, they just choreograph like, you know, like 4 bars. That's it. You know, 4 bars, like 8 counts or whatever they do, and they know how long that is. The comps are like, or you have like 40 seconds to go. You know, it's getting very much simpler and condensed, and the songs are almost the same. The songs are no longer breaks even. They went from breaks to electro to now they're something else because of media rights. Things like, you know, people's videos were getting stripped off YouTube. They weren't getting aired. Now you want to go and make a video. Like, listen, by the way, so like, let's talk crap about these energy drink guys for a second. So now, like, these guys make a video of this competition, right? And they put the video out and they make like ad revenue money. And then they make it again, and they make it again, and they make it again. You never got paid once, bro. They're getting paid every month off of your footage. But here's the kicker. They can't release that with breaks, with other music because like copyright. So they had to like start making their own music.
And what they've done is they've changed the music now.
Yeah, they had to. So we're dancing on something else that's not even like anywhere like near breaks, man.
Yeah.
It's like, it's gone past electro. I could still get down with electro breaks. I could still get down with that, but like now it's going like into something else that's not even close to rock.
It's different.
Like,
it's evolving though.
Comes from
like,
rock,
I'm not
man.
hating on it.
Breaking, the original term is rocking.
Is what, sorry?
Yeah. But I would say like let the kids evolve it.
Yeah.
What's that? What you say?
I feel you.
No, I would say like, you know what I would say is like, I would say let the kids evolve it. Don't let the promoters evolve the dance just because of business, you know?
Hang on, bro. I just got to change my webcam. My phone, there we go. My camera actually died. So now I got to use my laptop thing. But we're going to have to
that's good.
Leave in a sec now. I've got to do a crew routine training now. Well, we got like rehearsal for like a showcase, like a showcase. Cool, this is once a week, but yeah. Nice, yeah, man. Bro. Wow. Dude, really good talks with you, man. I really appreciate this. I'm probably going to have to get you back on because I feel like we could have kept talking a bit some more about like getting into this.
Oh, man.
Well, you spat out some heat, man.
Got like 40 years of like breaking knowledge, you know, like that we've got to get through cannot be done in one podcast. It can't. Like, and you know what would be good is if we bring on like 2 other guys that are also really intellectual that have different viewpoints. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have to get you back on, man. I have to get you back on because I think there's more to share, and you've taught me a lot already. Just going this, it was really interesting. I loved it, and I think we're gonna have to have like a bigger like a group as well coming in. But I want to get through some of those guys that we've been talking to individually, and we're gonna come together.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. Different views are good.
Yeah.
Awesome, bro.
Wow. I appreciate it, man. Anything else you want to share? Any other shout outs or anything like that? Appreciate your time too.
I just, I love all the new kids. I love what they're doing. And I just want to tell them to block their ears and not listen to the naysayers or the OGs or the judges. Like, we don't understand what you're going to create.
Mm,
You're the future. You know
mm,
better than us.
mm,
So, like, if you have a vision for your breaking and you're not winning competitions because people are saying, oh, but that's not breaking. Well, listen to what I just said. Like, I just dispelled 30 years of people saying power moves not dance because they were stupid, right? They were incorrect. I just proved it. But now I can't change history and make 30 years of people win those battles, right? You're gonna have you're gonna have people disregarding your genius. You're gonna have people saying you don't win because of my level of intellect. So don't listen to that stuff. Carry on with your vision, and you will explain to the world what you've created. So yeah,
awesome. Thank you, Stretch.
yeah, yeah.
Man, respect to you, man. Respect to you. Wow,
Respect.
you've dug in deep too. Thanks, man.
Yeah, homie.
Yeah, no.
Peace out. God
All right,
bless.
thanks very much once again, and we're gonna keep in contact, and I'll speak to you later, man. Appreciate it again. See you,
God,
bro. Thank you.
God
Peace.
bless, my friend.